Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Hesse Bros podcast. You see two familiar faces, Brent Hesse and Luke Hesse. Also, welcome in Quentin Hesse, the youngest of the five Hesse Bros, as he is fired up. We finally get
What's
to
up?
talk some Falcons football, as we had no reason to talk Falcons football in the first several episodes because the Falcons season was done early, per usual. But now it's the best time of the year for Falcons fans, draft season. So he's fired up for the NFL draft, as are both of us. We're going to get all the coverage of the NFL draft going. Luke and Quentin, how you guys doing? Looking forward to draft this week.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's good to be back here on the pod. Had to take a little break after the Super Bowl and all that, but it's good to be back and definitely excited about this draft.
I'm also doing good. Like you said, Brent, big time of the year for the Falcons, the NFL draft. This will be our third year in a row, having the eighth overall pick. So excited to see who we get.
And you think maybe big changes because, of course, in the offseason, big news Falcons finally got a quarterback.
Yes, Kirk Cousins, my new favorite QB in the NFL.
That's awesome.
I'm excited to watch him play.
My
For sure.
favorite quarterback remains the best quarterback in the league. That's Patrick Mahomes, in case anybody was wondering. But we will talk a lot about quarterbacks here early on, as quarterbacks are expected to dominate the first five picks or so of this draft and heavy in the top half of the first round. So we'll just kind of go through the first 10 picks or so, give our opinions, especially where the key players, the top quarterbacks and wide receivers are going to land. We'll start. Number one's obvious, right? It's almost lock.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Caleb Williams is going to be going first, but he's going to the Bears. He's Caleb Williams is one of the best prospects we've seen in so long. Going to be the number one overall pick for sure. But if anyone can mess this up, it's the Chicago Bears. All their quarterbacks always suck, so Bears are going to get one of the best prospects, but who knows how it's going to go for him once he actually gets out there. They did rebuild that offense over the free agency. They got Keenan Allen, they got DeAndre Swift, and they already had DJ Moore. So you'd think he'd be able to hop right in there and really do some damage. But again, it is the Chicago Bears. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I agree with you, Luke. Well, kind of. I think Caleb Williams will be very successful in year one. Uh, Anybody who's saying he's gonna, I don't. I mean, I don't really hear this often, but if people actually think it's gonna be like Bryce Young, no, he has the weapons. The Bears, they're gonna do good this year. Obviously, they're in a tough division with the Lions and the Packers, who have been really successful last year. So it'll be definitely tough to like win the division, but I definitely think they'll be in a playoff contending team for sure this year with Caleb Williams.
Absolutely. I think that this is the total different story than a lot of first overall picks because, like you mentioned, they've got weapons, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, and they've got another top 10 pick. This first overall pick isn't because the team went 2-15 last year. The team was average last year, especially after the really terrible start. They their actual pick is number 9. They have the Panthers pick. That's why they have number 1. So it's not like he's coming onto a team that only won 3 games last year. This team won 7 games last year, and he's going to elevate them. I think immediately the Bears jump into the expectations is to go over 500, at least get to 9 wins, definitely contend for a playoff spot. Yeah, the division is the best in the NFC, in my opinion. It's the best division in the NFC, but the NFC is still the weaker conference. So there are a lot of games that the Bears will be able to win. I think that it's going to be a fun team to watch. And Caleb Williams is going to net me $100. I have an easy future out there for Caleb Williams to be the first overall pick. Got it at even money somehow. So, yes, very happy about that one.
One more point on Caleb Williams. Uh, I think for his fantasy value, I think his fantasy value will be solid, and also Keenan Allen and DJ Moore will be very good fantasy wide receivers this year with Caleb Williams distributing him the football for sure.
And if they get a wide receiver at 9, it could be the best receiving core in the NFL.
Yeah, add Odunze possibly at 9. That'd be insane.
Yeah, we'll talk about that as it goes on. Anything else to mention on Caleb Williams before we move to number 2? All right,
That's all I
number
like about it.
2, the Washington Commanders. What are we thinking there?
I think
I
it's
mean,
pretty obvious here. You got to go with Jaden Daniels. This kid's a beast, bro. Heisman winner last year, completely deserved it. I mean, he starts running all over the place, outrunning safeties, outrunning cornerbacks out there in the SEC. Like, this dude's a beast. And then he's also pretty accurate, too. Had a lot less interceptions last year and really showed a lot of growth. He's just been a starter for 5 years in college, too. This dude's going to be a problem in the league. And as long as he doesn't get folded up like a lawn chair on all these hits he's taking from the safeties and gets hurt, like we saw with Richardson last year, where he's just taking unnecessary hits, it's kind of how I see it going for Daniels. He's got it all, and I feel like they have to take him.
yeah, I think in my opinion, I think Drake May is better and will be better in the NFL than Jane Daniels. That's just my opinion from looking at his film and stuff. But I do think that Washington Commanders will take Jane Daniels because Cliff Kingsbury is their new offensive coordinator, and he's worked with Kyler Murray and other mobile quarterbacks who like that's just the style he's used to, and I believe Jane Daniels will fit that perfectly. I not to say like I said Drake May I think will be better, but that's not to say Jane Daniels won't be good. I just think Drake May is a little bit accurate, accurate passer and a little bit better passer. But I think Jane Daniels will do well in that new Washington offense with Eckler and those other playmakers they got in Washington.
The books seem to think it's more coin flippy than what you guys are leading on. Of course, Jaden Daniels is a favorite at pick number 2 at minus 150, but Drake May's not too far behind at plus 125. Everybody else is at least 18 to 1. So it's basically between those two for the second pick. But you guys are leaning Jaden Daniels, who is the slight favorite in that spot.
Yep. I believe Jaden Daniels will be going to the Commanders, which leads us to the next pick.
Number 3, and that is the Patriots. New England with no Bill Belichick and no Tom Brady, of course. It's a fresh start in New England, and who is going to be the face of it? Another quarterback? Quarterback's going top 3?
So I'll start for this one. So I've heard talks about Patriots, like they're receiving calls. Like the Commanders, they basically said no trades. Like we're staying and we're taking our QB, and whether that's May or Daniels. But the Patriots are actually considering calls to trade down. So, but I don't think they will trade down. They need a quarterback. New coach Mayo, I believe he's going to want his QB. So I believe that they'll take Drake May with a third pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably will end up taking May there, but if I were them, I'd honestly think about Marvin Harrison right here. Like, I think May's going to be good, but the Patriots really do need a big
He's throwing him
weapon
the ball though. He's
like
throwing
Harris.
him
Bro,
Marvin Harrison the
Zappy
ball.
can do it. Like, throw Zappy out there,
Dude,
see what happens. You know what I
trust
mean?
me, dude. No,
Or
the
maybe you
Falcons
could.
had Ritter with a bunch of receivers, but it doesn't matter if you don't have a QB you can throw it to him. They're going to draft the quarterback. It's the most
Man,
important
well,
position.
yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. But you also got to think if they can get Harrison, this is a deep quarterback draft. If they aren't in love with May, they could always get Nix or Penix, possibly trade up late first round, or with that first pick in the second round, they could definitely get someone like that and still have a quarterback to go up in their quarterback room. And when you have a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., an actual all-time prospect at the wide receiver position, this could be the time for them to pull the trigger on that.
It certainly is the first spot where there is multiple options on the board that could change the course of the draft. It's Caleb Williams 1. It's definitely a quarterback with Washington, whether it's Daniels or May. It seems like Daniels is the more likely one, but could go either way. But this pick, I agree. The Patriots could go quarterback. They could go Harrison. They also could trade back. It's kind of where things will start to take course depending on what path it goes down. But if I have to pick, I think that I think the smart move is the Patriots to take a quarterback. They need to get something going. They've got a new general manager as well. He has to make a statement pick, and you can't be doing risky stuff like not taking the franchise quarterback at 3 when it's a glaring need. So I think that that's ultimately where they go, unless they just get a great deal where they can trade down a few picks, still be able to get a quarterback or something else that makes sense, and also just load up with future capital. I think quarterback has to be the pick there, and May makes sense if he's still on the board, although JJ McCarthy could be in play at 3.
That's very true. JJ McCarthy, So he's supposed to be is what we think the fourth best in the quarterback in this draft class. At least that's what we're hearing. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Patriots are looking at calls. If anyone gives them like a great offer, I wouldn't be surprised if they did it. But McCarthy, yeah, he could be third, but I doubt it. I'd say Patriots go May at third, and then um, number four pick was the Cardinals.
Yep, number 4 pick, Arizona Cardinals. Now this is the first pick where a quarterback is not the favored selection. Cardinals obviously have a quarterback in Kyler Murray. So if they stay at the pick, it seems pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, I mean they have to take a wide receiver here if they're not trading back. They just got rid of Hollywood Brown. Their number one wide receiver right now is I think Michael Wilson. And
Yes,
so it's like,
I
what
do
are we
like
doing
that
here?
guy. Got him in
They
Dynasty.
have to get a weapon for Kyler here. Probably Harrison. If somehow Harrison's gone at that point, take Neighbors, and yeah, just see if you can get Kyler back going back to how he's been his entire career, and just really keep elevating him like that.
Yeah, I agree. Marvin Harrison Jr. If he's on the board at 4, um, I feel like the Cardinals have to take him. If they do trade back, they could potentially trade back a few spots, or if someone's trying to get a QB at 4, they could trade back and possibly still get one of the other good receivers like Neighbors or Odunze. But
How
I feel
good?
like
I think it's pretty cut and dry that Harrison's the pick if the Cardinals stay at 4. How good is Marvin Harrison compared to the rest of this draft class and compared to who's his contemporaries in the NFL? You know, Jay Jeff bursted on the scene and was a top 5 wide receiver right away. Now he's clearly a top 2 wide receiver. So Jamar Chase the same way, was great right out of the gate. He's clearly a top 5 wide receiver in just 2 or 3 years. Where do you see Marvin Harrison landing in the ranks? Could he be the best wide receiver in the NFL in a year or two? Is he a guaranteed top 10? How much better is he than Neighbors and Odunze and the other guys that'll be off the board in the top 15 picks?
personally, I think Marvin Harrison, as soon as he gets to the NFL, will be top 10 wide receiver. And it
Really,
just
right
depends
away.
right away. It just depends. Like, he has the talent. He has, like, I don't really see any flaws in his game. Like, some people think speed, but I don't know what he ran, but it doesn't matter. On the field, he looks fast. And I think as long as him and Kyler Murray have that connection, like going early, then he'll do great in the NFL and be definitely top 5 in the NFL.
Yeah, this dude's gonna be awesome. I mean, if you watch him play the Ohio State games, every single game, he's going off, always getting open, always has separation. We'll see if he can do it in the league. But as far as a prospect goes, it doesn't get a whole lot better than this as far as a wide receiver. So, yeah, we're going to be expecting big things from him. I think he's going to deliver for sure.
So it seems like a locked in. If the Cardinals quarterbacks go top 3, Cardinals take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. Then that leads us to the number 5 pick, which is the first time things kind of get opened up as the Chargers currently hold the 5 pick. A lot of people think maybe that is where we see our first trade of the draft, as the Chargers obviously don't need a quarterback with Herbert. They got a new coach with Harbaugh. He's going to want to try to instill his stuff. Where does the draft turn here?
So, yeah, I think this is where it gets really interesting. The Chargers, they can always be looking for a trade in this spot, or if Harrison's still available somehow at this point, or definitely go for another wide receiver. They did just lose Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, so they're going to definitely in the market for a receiver here too. I could see them taking Neighbors, or I mean, Harbaugh has a lot of connections to the college scene right now. If he's able to trade back and just be able to find a lot of late round draft picks, a lot of prospects that he's been covering with his time in Michigan, and just overall knowing the players coming up in this college in this draft right here, he could definitely trade back and get a lot of great players on his team that he needs to try to build around for this Chargers future with Herbert in his prime right now, getting ready to go into his 5th or 6th year, and just a great player, really. So you got to try to get him all the weapons you can.
And real quick, just talking about the Chargers mass exodus just warms my heart as a Chiefs fan. Chargers are always the AFC West preseason champions. They're just so good before the season starts. They've had to pay all that money to Allen and Mike Will and even the guys on the defense with Bosa and Mack. And now the receivers are gone, the running back's gone, the coach is gone, which that part's kind of sad. I liked him. But other than that, just awesome to see the Chargers preseason champions. I don't think they'll be preseason AFC West champs this year.
Yeah, and the Chargers, yeah, I'd say at pick number 5, they'll either trade back or take Neighbors. I'd be surprised if they didn't take an offensive weapon for Herbert with, like you said, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, who are out. They need a wide receiver, and I believe Neighbors can definitely fit the bill for that at number 5.
So if you think Marvin Harrison Jr. is automatically a top 10 wide receiver as soon as he enters the league, where's Neighbors? Is he immediately a starting top, wide receiver 1? What's his ceiling and what's his expectations compared to the other top wide receivers?
I would say he'd be wide receiver 1. Like, he can definitely be a wide receiver 1 for a team. As far as like in the league, I'm not sure. He obviously has a great skill set as a prospect, but I'd say his impact won't be as big as Marvin Harrison Jr. at the start. And obviously it just depends because he'll have Herbert if he does go at 5. But I like Neighbors, but I like Harrison Jr. better as far as how he stacks up against other receivers.
I think Odunze is another person you have to look at here if you're the Chargers too. It's a good question between him and Neighbors. Which one's better? I think these top three in this wide receiver class are all absolute beasts, and they're all going to be having a lot of production their rookie year and the years to come. I mean, you really can't go any wrong with any of these top 3 wide receivers.
With the Chargers already soiling last year's first round pick as a wide receiver, taking Quentin Johnston, does that make them hesitate having to use back-to-back first-round picks on wide receivers, especially after last year's was such a bust? I mean, so many good wide receivers came after him, and he was just putrid all season. Does that may give this team a pause to not do it again?
I mean, you try. I think Johnson still has a chance. He just wasn't able to really catch the ball very well last year. Bricks for hands,
Is
but
that
he
his
still has
job to get open
yeah,
and catch the ball, and he couldn't do either one of those?
yeah. I mean, that is his job, but he does have the measurables. There's a reason why he's a first round pick. He can definitely make a jump in year 2. His career's not over. So yeah, I mean, if Johnson can step up a little bit in this offense and they get another dude on the outside of him, which they have to do. But yeah, I mean, you might be a little scared. Yeah, are you going to pick 2 really bad wide receivers? But I think at this position at 5, if you take a wide receiver, any 3 of these guys are going to be good, and so you just can't really worry about it. Just got to go with it.
All
Yeah, I
right.
agree with you, Luke.
Number 6 is the Giants pick. Giants currently just not a good team. They don't have a good quarterback. They just got rid of their best offensive player. So I don't even know where to start with those guys.
This team is ugly. Football Giants. No, yeah, I mean, I think maybe they take McCarthy if he's there. Maybe they take a quarterback, but honestly, who even knows with this squad, bro? Just freaking do something and get out of the way. Let's go on to the next pick. That's what I'm feeling.
Well, and I mean, at this point, there's a lot of teams in the teens that need quarterbacks, right? As surely whichever quarterback's still on the board, whether it's JJ McCarthy, do you think when do we see somebody trade up into the top 10 to get a quarterback if there's only been 3 taken at this point?
I would say at 6. So let's say that there hasn't been a trade up yet. I'd say at 6, you could see the Giants trade back because obviously Daniel Jones' contract. They could take McCarthy, but if someone's giving them a good deal for McCarthy to trade up to get McCarthy, they could get more picks because they definitely have a lot of needs. It's not just Daniel Jones who needs a replacement. It's a lot of like all over. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants trade back if there hasn't been a trade for McCarthy yet.
So you think that could be the spot? Who's the most likely trade partner? Seems like all the teams number 11, 12, and 13,
11,
Vikings,
yep.
Broncos, and Raiders all are in the market for a quarterback, who do you think? Where do you
I
think?
would say the most eager ones to trade up would be either the Vikings or the Broncos. I'd say the Raiders might stay put, and I don't see the Raiders trading up. I think it'll be either the Vikings or the Broncos who will trade up.
I feel like this could be one of those instances too where we see McCarthy slide down the board. You saw it happen to Levis last year, and it does seem like a lot more teams need a quarterback this year. And McCarthy, I just really don't see it. I know he's a good player and he won a lot of games in Michigan, but the offense didn't rely around him. It was a rushing, ground and pound type of offense that he was running over there. Not really exactly what he's going to be doing in the NFL. So it's going to be a tough transition for him. I think he could easily slide down boards a pretty long ways and maybe even into the late first round,
But I mean,
depending on.
don't the Broncos and the Vikings desperately need quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think at that point,
The Vikings have a like a win ready roster. It appears like, at least on the offensive side. They got Aaron Jones at tailback now. They've got, of course, Justin Jefferson and Addison came on. They need somebody to get the ball to them. Surely they're not just going to rely on Sam Darnold to do it, who's been passed around the league like dirty trash. Now we've got somebody has to step up. And of course, the Broncos, they just kicked Russell Wilson out the door and they've got no backup option. Those two teams seem desperate for quarterbacks, especially Sean Payton in Denver. He's not going to just waste his years. He's got to make a move. I feel like both those teams have to be aggressive and looking for an option.
yeah, I'd say. I mean, that's the question because you every year in the draft, it's best player available or your need. And when your need's a quarterback, I feel like the teams are more likely to just go ahead and take the quarterback. And that's why if somehow, like you said, if McCarthy does fall, I would be very surprised if the Vikings or the Broncos or even the Raiders wouldn't take McCarthy because that means they didn't even have to trade up. I'd be surprised if McCarthy fell past those picks right there.
Unless, Luke, you think that some other quarterback's taking that spot.
Well, personally, I think Penix is going to be better than McCarthy for sure in the league as far as just his accuracy goes. You see what Penix is able to do with the ball in his hand as long as he can stay healthy and he gets back to running a little bit more like he did before his torn ACLs. I mean, this dude's going to be an absolute beast. I think if I were a GM, I would probably be looking for Penix over McCarthy, just from what I've seen. But then again, I'm not a GM, so there you have it. But yeah, Penix is going to be a beast in the league. I hope he doesn't go to the Vikings because that team will be scary if they have a pocket passer like that thrown to Jefferson. That would be a tough offense to stop. So
Yeah, that division
yeah.
could get loaded quick if the Vikings get a good option at quarterback and the Bears obviously get Caleb Williams and another nice piece at 9 with what the Lions and the Packers were able to accomplish this year. Scary, scary.
We'll see.
Okay, well, it looks like we've covered most of the main prospects. We want to talk about individual teams. We kind of went through 6. So where are we thinking the Falcons? Quinn, kind of map out what you expect to happen 6 and 7 going into the Falcons pick at 8 and their options there.
So yeah, what I believe the Falcons, the options they will have. So I think 6 and 7, whoever the Giants take, like if it's a receiver or if someone moves up to take a quarterback at 6, it won't really matter because I don't think we're gonna get either of those players. But Titans, I believe, will take Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu. One of the best tackle will be gone. But I think the Falcons are going to be zeroing in on an edge rusher for sure. They got Raheem Morris, he was the Rams defensive coordinator. I think he's going to want to bolster up the defense. So I'm looking at Dallas Turner or Jared Verse, possibly Leatu Latu, but I think it'll be Dallas Turner and Jared Verse are the better fits for the Falcons defense, what they want. And one other thing is if Rome Odunze is there at 8, I wouldn't put it past the Falcons of taking him because we've seen back to back Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, just absolutely just every pick is offense. And Terry Fontenot, he was a part of those picks. It wouldn't put it past me if he just says, all right, let's just give Kirk Cousins one more weapon because we have Drake London, we have Kyle Pitts, we have Bijan, but our next best receiver is Darnell Mooney. And he is a good receiver, but he hasn't last few years, he hasn't proven himself to be the wide receiver 2 that like can go far in the playoffs. So if the Falcons wanted to get a dominant offense, I wouldn't be surprised if Romo Odunze is the pick if he's still there. Or if a team wants Romo Odunze at 8, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons trade back. And if the Falcons trade back, then they still get most likely either Dallas Turner or Jared Verse around the 11 through 13 pick, or whoever trades up for the wide receiver, Romo Odunze. I think that's the direction they go. Ultimately, I think they'll probably take Dallas Turner at 8. If not, if they trade back, most likely Jared Verse at wherever that is.
Yeah, it's interesting, Falcons, because that'll probably be the first defensive player off the board, right? The first 7 picks expected to be offense. Those 3 quarterbacks for sure, 2 or 3 wide receivers potentially, the top tackle. So top defensive player, Falcons will have their pick at 8, and you think Dallas Turner is the top choice?
I think Dallas Turner is the choice. Everything I've seen is that's their guy. One other player that's not an edge rusher, Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle from Texas. He's a beast. He might be a little bit of a reach at 8, but like I said, if they do trade back, I would not be like, and that's another player that they could look at is Byron Murphy from Texas. He's a really good defensive tackle, and just bolstering up the defensive line is what the Falcons need.
Heck yeah, and just to go off of that, yeah, I think it's probably going to be Joe Alt and Dallas Turner going back to back there. That's why you need a little parlay for these drafts you made to this point in the video. A little parlay for you. Jaden Daniels, second quarterback. Joe Alt, first offensive lineman, and Dallas Turner being the first defensive lineman off the taken in the draft. I feel like that parlay is going to hit pretty good. You need a little extra bread this draft season. But yeah, that's how that's how I'm feeling. I'm thinking, yeah, 7-8 right there. And then yeah, moving on to the 9th pick.
Yeah. You want to talk 9th pick, Luke?
What do we got here?
Well, 9th pick is back to the Bears. That's back to your division rival. What are they going to do after they get Caleb Williams? Who are they pairing him with?
Yeah, I mean their defense. You saw at the end of last year, their defense was really turning it up and really making some good plays. So yeah, they could really go anywhere on the defensive side, especially maybe even in the secondary if there's someone they like there. But yeah, yeah, getting Caleb Williams. I don't really know if they need any more weapons. Probably maybe go for an offensive lineman to try to protect him too. I don't know. What do you think, Hugh?
I mean, Chicago's offensive line isn't. I think they're fine on the offensive line. What I'm looking at is if Romo Odunze's there, they take him. Just get that wide receiver trio going with Keenan Allen and Romo Odunze and DJ Moore. That would be insane. But if not, they want to play a little more conservative. They do have some holes on the defense. They need an edge rusher as well. So if Dallas Turner somehow falls or one of the other ones they like, then I'd say defensive end is definitely a big priority for them as well.
That's pretty much the first 9 picks. Let's talk. We'll scroll down. We'll go to the Lions. Luke, what do you think for the Lions in the draft?
Oh yeah, well the Lions already had an awesome offseason, so with this draft pick, I'm hoping we get a nice little cornerback back there. You know, Cam Sutton had some unfortunate events with the cops. I'm sure, you know, one of B. Hess's players over there, Rasheed Rice, had a little incident too. So I'm thinking the Chiefs might be trying to replace that, and the Lions are trying to replace our little Cam Sutton incident here. So
Cam Sutton wasn't really good though, so like you don't have to replace a good player.
yeah, you're right. Well, we needed him replaced anyways, bro. Our cornerbacks suck. That's what lost us the I mean, that was clearly the weakest part of the Lions last year was our secondary. Our front 7 rush defense is good. Obviously, one of the best offenses in the league, no doubt in that. So get someone back there in the secondary. I'm hoping that Kool-Aid McKinstry dude, but really just whatever we got. Somehow that Cooper DeJean kid from Iowa falls to us, or maybe we even go up and trade up for him. I think that would be an awesome piece to add to some of the other free agents we already signed this year. And if we get one more player back there in the secondary and start gelling again, the Lions offense is holding teams, or Lions defense is holding teams to below 20 points a game. I don't see how the Lions ever lose. So, hey,
Huh.
there you have it. I think that's going to be working out pretty good for us.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'll talk Chiefs, and then Quentin, you can jump in about what you think maybe for both of them. So I think Chiefs obviously 32nd pick. They're used to that spot. It's been a couple times now that they've had it. and it's definitely not the best spot for the draft, but it works out all right when you get to hold the Lombardi Trophy. So for the Chiefs, I think obviously the two big needs are the offensive tackle and the wide receivers. Tackle, the Donovan Smith is not, they have not re-signed him in free agency, so they are missing a left tackle. They could start the player that came on at the end of the year that played a little bit in the season whenever Smith was injured, third round pick from a couple years ago. And he was serviceable, but Chiefs could go tackle if one of those top 5 or 6 tackles like Mims or some of the other guys are still there. Mims, I know from Georgia, he's a good player. Alabama has a guy that also seems like he could be viable. I think Latham maybe is the name. So maybe one of those guys if they're still around. But of course, the exciting thing would be if the Chiefs get another receiver. Of course, the Rashee Rice thing, we'll see how that shakes out. My hope is Rashee will, you know, get it together and be able to play at some point this season, hopefully. But that's definitely a question mark. So obviously, the Hollywood Brown signing is nice. If it was Hollywood and Rashee, then you're feeling pretty good. And if it's just Hollywood and now your wide receiver 2 is, I don't even know. I guess it could be somebody scary. Kadarius, is he back in the fold? Oh boy.
Die Moore.
Jay Jay Watt. Yeah, so obviously then you need a receiver. Xavier Worthy, that guy's a speedster. That would be electric. Definitely not Tyreek, but has some similar qualities. Of course, McCole Hardman, they tried to recreate that with McCole Hardman. Definitely different results, but I think Xavier Worthy could be dope. The Georgia boy, Lad McConkey, could be a perfect fit for Patrick Mahomes. Just being able to get open and make the right plays. I really like the receiver from Florida State, Keon Coleman. He's athletic, big, physical, just a guy that you can go throw the ball up to, get out of trouble. So those would be my 3 wide receivers that I would love to see in a Chiefs uniform. We'll see what happens. I think tackle and wide receiver are definitely the 2 most important needs. And then, later on in the draft, the Chiefs can draft defensive end and address defensive end and maybe cornerback since they lost some players at those positions as well.
All right, so I'll jump in. I'll start with your Chiefs, Brent. So, like you said, receiver, offensive tackle. I actually didn't know they needed an offensive tackle, so that's interesting. But I was zeroed in on receiver this first round. Lad McConkey is another guy, like you said. I think they definitely should be looking at. So one receiver that you didn't mention though is if Adonai Mitchell falls.
Oh, yeah, the other Texas receiver.
Another Texas receiver. So Xavier Worthy, like he has the speed. I'm not sure if he has the route running to go along with it, like what you'd like as the Chiefs, but obviously he'd be just a deep ball guy for Patrick Mahomes, take the top off the defense. But if Adonai Mitchell falls, I definitely think the Chiefs will take him here. He's a more he's in my opinion a more skilled receiver than Xavier Worthy. I think he'd fit better in that offense, a little bit bigger. So that's what I would look at with the Chiefs. One other thing is the cornerback. You said I think they might need to address that a little bit earlier because L'Jarius Sneed's gone.
Yeah,
and they're so they won't have that lockdown corner. Obviously, they have McDuffie, but I'm saying like on both sides that like last year they had 2 lockdown corners, which is insane. And if so, a few cornerbacks to look at end of round 1. Enos Rackstraw Jr. from Missouri, he's a beast. They could definitely be looking at him. And then if Coley McKinstry falls to them, I could definitely see them taking him as well.
Well, that's some good stuff. Anything else you guys want to hit on for this draft? Anything we haven't gotten to talk about yet that you're going to be locked in on?
Seems like about it, hopefully another Mr. Irrelevant pops out here. It's kind of lit, just like Brock Purdy. Always good to see Mr. Irrelevant there on Saturday, seeing who barely gets snuck in there. And hey, it's gonna be time for Brad Holmes to cook again. He's done it every time. Time for him to get back in there and do it again. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait for them all to be disrespecting the Lions draft like they did you last year. and we have three of the top rookies in the league. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, speaking about that, I do want to mention that real quick. One of those rookies was Sneaky Sam Laporta, the tight end. And of course, there's going to be a tight end that goes early this year, Brock Bowers from Georgia, really highly ranked tight end, probably the highest ranked tight end prospect in several years. Where do you think he's going to land, and how good will he be?
I think a few spots where he could land is first New York Jets. Him with Aaron Rodgers, that could be something special. Another place is if he drops down to 15 to the Colts. The Colts, they love their tight ends, and what if they had Brock Bowers with Anthony Richardson? That would also be an exciting thing to see. So I think those are the two most likely landing spots for Bowers.
Dope.
Wherever he goes, it'll probably be an immediate impact for this guy. He's going to be a beast wherever he goes, but he's still going to not be even having anywhere close to as good of a year as Laporta had. So he'll be pretty solid though. He can block, he can do it all. So we'll see him out there on the field though. Excited to see what team he goes to.
Anything else cute you're going to be looking forward to the draft?
Just like every year, there's like the fifth, sixth, seventh rounders who go off. Like last year, Puka Nacua was a beast for the Rams. So it'll be cool to see like still on those like day 3 picks. Like those are still important picks. They can definitely turn out to be great players. So just keep your eye on that.
One other thing I do want to mention, because of course with the draft, you can bet on the props and stuff, but I'm in some dynasty leagues and I'm fired up for my dynasty drafts that'll be starting right afterwards. We talked, there's clearly a lot of good quarterbacks at the top, a lot of good wide receivers. Bowers, clearly the number 1 tight end. Who are the best running backs in this draft? When are they going to go? And what teams would be the best fit in terms of fantasy? Because normally running backs are the rookies that immediately make the best impact. There were several this year with Bijan and Gibbs, your 2 teams that had rookie running backs that were major fantasy players season 1. What are the teams that if a running back goes there, you need to watch out, draft them in the first several rounds of fantasy drafts early in a dynasty draft? And who are the running backs that are the best running backs in this class? Because I don't think any are projected to go in the first round.
I'll start with that, Brent. So his name is slipping from me, but the running back from Texas, not Bijan, obviously, because he's at the Falcons, but the running back from Texas,
Jonathan Brooks.
If he goes to the Cowboys, I don't think the Cowboys won't take him in round 1, but if he's there in round 2 for the Cowboys, I could see them taking him because the Cowboys, they lost Tony Pollard. They kind of need a running back. I think that like if whoever, not even just Brooks, but any running back that goes to the Cowboys, they'll have an opportunity. Yeah, I think that would be the best landing spot. They'll have an opportunity to do good in fantasy year 1, really.
I think the other biggest spot to look at has got to be the Chargers here. They have we know the way that that Harbaugh wants to play, and the offensive coordinator I think is the exact same way. They just want to run the ball. All they have right now is Gus Edwards, and yeah, whoever they draft, they're gonna have to draft somebody. The Chargers are, and whoever they get is gonna be taking over there. So going to be getting a lot of the work, and it's going to be a rushing offense, just like Harbaugh wants it to be. And then, yeah, of course, the Cowboys, all they have is Rico Dowdle. So everyone thought that they'd be in the market for Henry. Doesn't even make a phone call. The Cowboys basically don't even try in free agency. I think Jerry Jones is just waiting around thinking the same old thing. Oh, we'll get 11 wins and get bounced first round. No, we'll be looking nice. No, I mean, it's going to happen again. He's probably going to get some bum running back, but it'll probably be good for fantasy. Oh, yeah, it'll be interesting out there.
Yeah, I think the Chargers is an interesting one, and one of the top running backs, Blake Corum, the Michigan running back, won me a lot of money this year. Number 2 for Michigan, scored a lot of touchdowns for me, so I was fired up for that. Look, throwing parties all my ways off Blake Corum, that fires me up. So yeah, if the Chargers do get Corum, he's ranked as a number 3 running back on the board that I'm looking at, so definitely could be a viable option. Going to be interested to go see where the running backs fall, as with the wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, all the fantasy players, and of course my Chiefs. So that's pretty much all my coverage on the draft. You guys got anything else? Final thoughts before we sign off on the Hesse Bros Pod?
Can't wait for Thursday. It's going to be awesome. So it's going to be cool to see where everyone goes. Thanks for having me on here, B.
Absolutely, brother.
Fun.
Yeah, that was a good time. Definitely got me hyped up for the draft. I hope y'all are ready too, and it's gonna be a good time. Can't wait for at least something to be happening in the NFL. I've been itching, waiting for it.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, like and subscribe to our podcast. We love pumping out our NFL content, and no better to do it when you're the Super Bowl champs. So, congrats once again to me and the Kansas City Chiefs on the Super Bowl. Good luck to all of you guys that are desperately in need for rookie players in the draft. Signing off on the Hesse Bros podcast.